I would blink the lights, but I don't have a light switch, so I'm tapping the microphone instead. Oh, wow. Thank you, Nick. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the kickoff of the fall 2022, and there goes the mic, 2022 semester. I knew that the start of school was imminent because it started to rain. And it just seems very natural that the start of every semester in the fall, we get rain. I used to tell the students and parents at orientation, one thing you should do is have an umbrella, because the first day of class, and I've only been here a few years, but one day at the first day of fall class, it always seems like it rains. So bring your umbrella. So I knew, and the cold front hit today, so it's already feeling like fall a little bit. I want to welcome a few people here that are special guests today. We have three of our regents here today. We have Regent Jennifer Winston, who is the secretary of our board, is joining us today. We have Nancy Wyndham, who's a member of our board, joining us today, and our new student regent, Paige Vadnais, who's joining us today. So thank you guys for being here today and tolerating this presentation. So I appreciate that very much. I also want to say welcome to our new faculty members. I had a chance to have lunch, and then we also had a reception with our new faculty members on Tuesday night. So had about 35 that participated in lunch and at the reception. So if you're a new faculty member, if you would stand, I think we'd all like to welcome you. All right. I asked them, I said, I walk across campus a lot, but I tend to have blinders on. And you know how that is. You go from place to place, and you're thinking about what you're going to do when you get there. And I said, just come over and tap me on the shoulder and say hi and let me know how it's going for you, because we're glad you're here and part of the SFA family. So appreciate that, and glad you came to the presentation this morning after hearing me say something Tuesday. That's even better. You came back. And I'd like to go ahead and congratulate a few of our new deans today. And our first is Dr. Gary Wirtz, who is I called Gary our old new dean, and I don't really know why, but he's just been here a while. So Dr. Wirtz, congratulations, our new dean of the Mickey Elliott College of Fine Arts. So congratulations, Gary. And then our new dean, Dr. Dustin Knepp, who is the dean of our College of Liberal and Applied Arts. So Dr. Knepp, congratulations and welcome. Welcome to SFA. Very glad to have you here. And then I want to thank Dr. Cheryl Jerez, who is serving as our interim dean of the Office of Research and Graduate Studies. So Dr. Jerez, if you are here, in the back, there she is. Okay. So congratulations to you, and thank you for serving in that interim role there. I have a few things I want to just cover with you this morning, and we'll get started. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an example here of what we're going to do. Here's our agenda. I'm going to move through some of this pretty quick, but I want to address early on the question about system affiliation. That's a question that's been out there and talked about for a period of time, and you'll see this little connection there to the presidential search, because there's questions that I get where they're all around town. I'm at Walmart, I'm getting gas, at church. It's like, how's the presidential search going? And I'm going, well, it's not yet. And I'm anxious to see the presidential search start. So I want to tie these two pieces of the puzzle together here a little bit and talk about how we are going to approach this. So first, let's talk about system affiliation just a little bit. Just for background, there's 37 public universities in Texas. And out of that, 35 are members of one of the 7 university systems. So there are 2 institutions that remain unaffiliated with a university system. It is SFA and Texas Southern, which is in Houston. And so the question has been raised over time, and like I said, I've done this, been around here a long time. I've been in a leadership role since 2006, except for a period of about a year and a half recently. And And through that time, we always had informal contacts from members of systems. They would always reach out and say, if you're ever interested in considering affiliation, we would love to talk to you. And normally our response was, thank you, but we're not. But this has been a consistent theme. We've always had suitors from the various systems around the state. When I came back in April, it certainly was a system question was not on the agenda for anything for me to deal with at the time. But what happened really over, say, June and first part of July, the contact between systems, informal contacts, I would get calls from various presidents of different institutions, and it was just this informal contact. If you're interested. And I think as the rumors kind of began to grow about system affiliation, then the system sort of increased their informal contacts because the interested systems didn't want to get left out of the conversation. So as those contacts begin to grow, and all informal and just if you're interested, we would like to talk. If you're interested, we would like to talk. All very cordial. Then the question then came for our board at their July meeting about the timing of the presidential search. So the discussion begins about the timing of the presidential search, but also the discussion happens about what about the sort of increase in contact from the systems interested in having a discussion about affiliation. And those two things are things that didn't really go together. To start a presidential search, it would be difficult to do that and carry on some evaluation of potential system affiliation at the same time, because it depends on who the new president would report to. Would they report to our board as it currently exists, or would they report to a chancellor who would report to a system board? And so the decision was made to postpone any presidential search and to do an evaluation of is it in the best interest of the university to consider accepting an invitation to affiliate with one of the systems in the state. Of course, the reason you would want to do that is to see if you can access resources that you don't currently have access to, and to provide some more support for our students and employees over time. So if you want to evaluate that, it has to be a little bit more than an informal conversation. It needs to be a more formalized process, and it needs to include input from our campus as well as contact between our board and the boards of the systems that are interested. So there are 7 university systems in Texas. I graphically represented them here for you today. The Texas A&M University System, the Texas State University System, Texas Tech, the University of Texas System, University of Houston System, Texas Woman's University System, and University of North Texas System. Now, Texas Woman's University System is a little interesting and new. They just had legislation in this past session that established them as a system. We always considered them one of the unaffiliated institutions, but they are now officially a university system, and they do have a campus in Denton and in Houston. So that sort of was the reason for that, I believe. Now, the 4 systems that have expressed interest are the A&M system, the Texas State University System, Texas Tech University System, and the University of Texas System. Those are the 4 that have expressed interest. If our board has interest in having discussions about affiliation, these are the 4 parties that are interested. So with that in mind, and I'll go back here, this reiterates a little bit of what I've said already, but over the past several months, representatives of those systems have made informal contact with our board, and they've asked, or said they would like to be part of any formal discussion should our board choose to evaluate system affiliation. So our board will be evaluating that. They are going to engage with those systems to assess how an affiliation might benefit the university. And those discussions are going to take place between representatives of our board and representatives of the system boards that have expressed an interest. And then the timing of the search for the new president is contingent upon the outcome of those discussions. So this all will flow together, and it's just a matter of putting the horse before the cart in this process. So this will be something that will start really quickly. The board has established a subcommittee that is tasked with engaging with the authorized representatives of the interested systems to talk about governance, financial, and other matters that surround potential affiliation. And that subcommittee is Karen Gant, who is the chair of our board, Tom Mason, who's the vice chair, Jennifer Winston, who's joined us today, who's our secretary of the board, David Alders, who is a member of the board but is also a past chair. He's in his second term, and he's a local regent as well. And then I will serve in that group in an ex officio capacity to have these discussions. Now, although the final decision rests ultimately with our board, I've been asked by the board to develop an organized and comprehensive process that will provide input from our faculty, staff, and students and alumni that will be provided to the board prior to making their decision. Now, the timing of this, and we'll go through the timing here a little bit, we're going to have to move rather rapidly, and I'll explain that as we get to the end, but I think those of you that know the process will know that there would have to be enabling legislation through this. The legislature in Texas only meets every 2 years. That session is coming up this spring, so there's a window of time that's available to us at this point to develop the enabling legislation that would be required. So campus input will be coming from, I hope, because all these groups will be invited to provide input from the Dean's Council, the Chairs Forum, Faculty Senate, Staff Council, Student Government, and the Alumni Association. Let's talk about process and timeline a little bit here. The Dean's Council, Chairs Forum, and Faculty Senate is with the support of the Provost Office, so Dr. Smith will be supporting this effort, are invited to develop questions that their groups have relative to system affiliation. And Dr. Smith is going to work with these groups, and that's my next slide, and then I'll go back. Provost is going to help provide a process that will coordinate the work of these groups so that a comprehensive question set can be developed from these groups by September 23rd, and I know that's coming up in a month, but I think you'll see how it flows timeline-wise as we go here. Then I will take that set of questions that these groups provide and provide those to the interested systems and invite them to respond. They don't have to respond, but certainly they'll have an invitation to respond and have that response back by October the 6th. So my ask is to have those questions by the 23rd. I will provide those to the person at the system level that I'm working with by the 27th. And you think, why is it going to take you from the 23rd to 27th? There's a weekend in between there. So we're going to give them the weekend off. And then hopefully they'll have their responses back by the 6th, because that's going to be the ask. And then after reviewing the responses, the provost, associate provost, the deans, chairs forum, and faculty senate will then be invited to collaboratively prepare a report for me that represents their collective evaluations of the strengths and weaknesses of each system in regards to the questions that they posed, as well as outlining what they would ask the board to consider when it's making its final decision. And the provost then will present that report to the board at their October 30 and 31 meeting. All right, so there's the timeline. That's the goal of having that report ready to present to the board October 30, 31. The staff council will be invited to develop a set of questions its group has relative to affiliation, and again by September 23rd. And Dr. Delaney Fields has agreed to support and work with the staff council to support that effort. And then I will provide their questions to the interested systems and invite a response by October 6th. And I will provide them to them by September 27th. You're starting to see a theme and a pattern here. And after reviewing the responses, then the staff council will be invited to prepare a report that represents its evaluations of the strengths and weaknesses based upon the questions that they've posed and outline what they would ask the board to consider when they're making their final decision. And then the chair of the staff council will present that report to the board October 30, 31. And then student government will be invited to develop their set of questions relative to a potential affiliation. By the 23rd, Dr. Brandon Fry, who is the Vice President for Student Affairs, will support them in that effort. Again, I will provide their questions to the system with a request for response by the 6th, and then they're invited to prepare the same type of report that the other groups are provided. And then the student body president will present that report to the board at its October 30, 31 meeting. And then the SFA Alumni Association, and again, I'll go through these pretty quickly because you know the drill by now, will provide their questions. I will submit those to the systems, receive their responses, get them back to the appropriate groups, and they can make a report based upon their evaluation of the strengths and weaknesses, along with outlining what it would ask the board to consider in making its final decision. And then a representative of the Alumni Association will present that report at the October 30, 31 meeting. And then we're planning to launch an online portal, and Graham yesterday told me it will be up and ready by Monday. Okay. And so the intent here is to launch an online portal to provide a means for any interested person to provide input here, because we've provided an opportunity for all of these groups and stakeholder groups to provide input, but this will allow anyone to provide input. The hope here is I say the hope, it'll happen. I know it'll happen. When you go to the portal and want to submit a comment, you can identify, I'm faculty, I'm staff, I'm student, I'm alumni, I'm a visitor from out of town, however you want to identify, and then when you submit, that comment will be routed to the appropriate group that is having a consideration, and it will also go into a large list of comments that will be provided to the board in bulk before they make their decision. So, and you see 3 dates listed there, and let me explain that. The first date, October 22nd, is the date that it's August 22nd, thanks. I just spooked Graham down here. August 22nd is the date we plan to have that launch. So we will send out some information with the link for that. We're going to put some verbiage on there that to be most impactful, it would be good to have a comment by September 16th. And the reason we're going to say that is because then it can flow to the groups that are doing work, and it can be incorporated into the work that they're doing. After that, we're still going to invite comments, but it just won't have quite as much interaction with the work that the groups are doing at that point. So we'll plan to keep that portal open starting Monday through October 14th, with that September 16th date sort of being the preferred response by date. And then Graham Garner is going to be supporting that effort. So again, we'll invite input from the groups that are listed here, and then you see down at the bottom, this time I've listed plus other interested parties, because it's going to be available to, we'll have people within the community that have interest in this because of the university's importance to the community, and we'll certainly be inviting them to communicate and participate as well. And then I'll be taking invitations from as many civic groups as want to hear about this, and so I'll probably get to have a lot of chicken lunches and dinners, and I will make myself available to any alumni group that wants to have a discussion in Houston or Dallas or wherever they might be, and I'll do my best to make that circuit to make sure that people are involved in this process. So again, just sort of a briefer evaluation or evaluation process timeline. By September 23rd, question sets developed and submitted to me. By September 27th, I will have delivered those question sets to whoever the boards of the systems have authorized to speak on their behalf. And then by the 6th, system responses received by me and submitted back to the appropriate groups. And then by the 21st of October, reports that represent the assessment of strengths and weaknesses of each responding system and the recommendation for consideration provided back to me, and then I will get those into the board's work that they will see. But they're going to get a copy of the report, but then they're going to hear a presentation of each report from the appropriate person at that October 31 meeting. I think the board's intent now is not to take any action at that meeting relative to this. They want to get all the information and hear the reports first, and then likely have a special called meeting post the October 31 meeting, but before the end of the semester, to just consider this one topic. Now, why is this timeline fairly important? To get a decision before the end of the fall semester. That's the goal. And why is that important? Well, affiliation will require enabling legislation, and the session begins January 10th of 2023. So we've got to, if there's and then that, who put that on there, that second thing? Who made this slide? And the interim president's a short timer, and there needs to be a presidential search that's conducted. And I'm fully supportive of that. I'm a cheerleader of the presidential search, but I understand that this first question has to be answered first. And so once that first question is answered, that enables two things. It enables legislation to be generated in collaboration with a system if we accept an invitation. Understand that one of the decisions can be no, that we're not. We hear all of the invitations and we decide, or I say we decide, the board decides not to. But if there is a agreement to accept one of the invitations, then there has to be collaboration with that system and their board and their staff to begin to work with our elected representatives to enable or to draft the enabling legislation. And that's not an overnight process. So, and with the session starting mid-January, it's why the decision timeline is really necessary by the end of the fall semester. And then once that decision is reached, one way or the other, that will enable discussion about the presidential search that can take place. So we have a chance to have a system affiliation evaluation process in the fall and a presidential search in the spring. It'll be an exciting time. So anyway, that's I just wanted to make sure, and I'm sorry for the number of slides here. And I've told some people, I said, could get a little excruciating, the number of slides. But I wanted to just be as detailed as I could and make sure that every group that is represented on here understands that they've got a chance to develop their questions that will go directly to the systems. The responses will come back directly to them. It's not going to be filtered by me. I'm not going to be trying to decide, I wonder what each group would ask. The groups are going to get to ask the questions. I'm just the conduit to and back to, and then those groups will get to evaluate those responses and develop a report on the strengths and weaknesses, learn more about each of those systems on that, and then through that process of discernment, advise our board on what they would like for our board to consider when they're making their final decision. So it is the pace of the process is brisk, but I think it delivers a chance for each group to have a piece of the input that goes into the decision making, as well as the online portal will allow anybody to have a chance to submit something as well. So that is what I wanted to make sure that I really touched base on today, because I know that, and I'm having to flip through my sheets here, there's a lot of slides. I think there were 32 slides. I looked at that and I thought that's going to get a little long, but I just wanted to make sure we covered it in as much detail as possible. Moving on, I want to talk a little bit about the salary supplement that the board approved at the July meeting, and that's coming up relatively quickly. Here's the fine print on it. Don't worry about reading this. You know, there's those commercials where at the end they talk really fast, and so I feel kind of like I could read this really fast and it might sound like that, but we're going to post this presentation out there so you can go back and look at this if you want to, but I just want to hit the high points on it. feel, please go back and look at the details if you want to, but I'm going to hit the high points. Who is going to be receiving the salary supplement? Our full-time faculty and staff that are paid from E&G auxiliary or designated funds who were employed as of April the 1st and who are still employed on the date of the payment. And that really just means that you will need to have been here at least 6 months to be eligible for this salary supplement. The what is, the supplement is going to be equal to 4% of your base salary or $2,000, whichever's greater. And that supplement is going to be paid in a separate one-time payroll payment on October the 14th. So it'll come as a separate payment at that time. So again, feel free to go through and look at all the details. It'll tell you exactly how much the federal tax is going to be withheld and the Social Security and calculations. I don't want to read through all that. We'll make sure that's posted and you can take a look at it. But again, full-time faculty and staff who've been here at least 6 months, supplement will be 4% of your base salary or $2,000, whichever is greater, and paid in this separate one-time payroll payment on October 14th. I appreciate the board. The ongoing outlook, and we're going to do a little enrollment update in just a minute. The outlook is still, our enrollment is still not going to be up likely because we have those small COVID classes still baked into the pie. We're going to talk about the bright spots of that in a minute, what is coming. But the outlook of that is still cloudy enough that to do anything beyond a one-time supplement now, it just felt like it was the best thing to do was what can we do now immediately to support our faculty and staff while the ongoing discussions happen about what goes on into the future. So this is the one-time supplement, and we appreciate the board approving that proposal. Employee assistance program. I think all of you received information about our new employee assistance program, but I just want to make sure you're pointed to that. SFA's partnered with UT Health to provide our employee assistance program to our employees. And our program offers our employees and family members who live in the same household access to free confidential services. I'm reading the slide, I'm sorry, but free confidential services on topics like counseling sessions with a licensed mental health professional. We have legal resources, financial resources, and work-life referrals, and other opportunities for you. So it's on our website. You can link to it from the Human Resources website. It looks like that. So if you're on that page, you'll know you're on the Employee Assistance Program. There's a link to the Employee Assistance Program website and access these services for you or your family members that are living in your same household. So I would invite you to go out and stroll around through the website a little bit, see what's available to you through this new employee assistance program. And I appreciate John White and the HR people working hard to get this up and going. And so just want to make sure that if you missed it, that you are aware that is available to you now. I want to talk about an enrollment update just a little bit. I mentioned, and I think we all know that we have those, a little bit of our sophomore class and our junior and senior class still. Those are hard numbers to grow once they're baked into the enrollment numbers as you go forward. Transfer students are our numbers there are down, but part of the nationwide impact of, and we're assuming it's COVID, it can be other things. The numbers of transfer students across the nation are down. So our numbers in transfer students reflect that as well. And one thing that we're doing is we're graduating large numbers of students right now because we're graduating students that these are really still pre-COVID cohorts. So congratulations, we're doing a really good job graduating our students. I've joked, if we could figure out a way not to graduate students, we could really grow our enrollment. But you're doing a great job graduating students, which is exactly what we want to do. We graduated over 2,700 students last year. So when we are graduating pre-COVID classes, we're holding on to, and I call them COVID classes, and that's probably, I shouldn't call them that. I don't want to label them, but you know what I mean. We have those classes that are still in the mix, in the pipeline. So what we need to look at is what is the incoming class look like. So I want to share that with you. This was as of yesterday. And it's like watching the stock market. So be careful, because one day they're up, next day they're down, and it moves back and forth. So I didn't look this morning. We may be up more than this, or we may be back down. We'll see. But this was as of yesterday. Our new first-time in college students, it's FDIC, that's not the bank insurance company. FDIC is 1,619. So that's an 8.8% increase over last year's numbers. So that's 143 more first-time in college students for us this year. Our number of returning freshmen are up. That's a good number to see, 2,765. That's a 4.6% increase, or 127 students. And then we look at our student housing, because that's an important component. We're a strong residential campus, so having students in our housing indicates that we are rebounding there as well. And we have a little over 11% increase on the number of students that are going to be living on campus this fall compared to last fall. So that's 329 more students living on campus this fall than last fall. So we have those dreary numbers in the middle that we're going to be living with for a while, but we have the bright spot of these beginning rebound of our new incoming students, and then students who are going to be engaging with us on campus and living in our housing. So these are good numbers, because this will begin as we continue to graduate those students. Those smaller numbers will continue to push out of the mix, and these larger numbers will continue to push into the mix. So we'll continue to try to make these even higher going forward. I want to thank Rochelle Garrett. Rochelle is serving as our interim director of enrollment management. I think many of you know that Irma Brecht, who had been our executive director of enrollment management, left for the Texas A&M Kingsville in June. Rochelle agreed to step in the interim role. We have a search underway for our new executive director of enrollment management. The firm that's conducting that search has already been on campus and met with the committee and met with different stakeholders relative to that search. So that search will be underway. Practically speaking, I would say that we're probably looking at having a new person at the start of the spring. Typically it's about a 90-day process, and then once we get into that November time and you make an offer to somebody and they accept it, they'll probably want to not move over Thanksgiving and Christmas right then, but to wait and be here at the spring. So we hope it might be somebody earlier, but I'm just, from a practical standpoint, that's the target that I keep in my mind, is probably the first of the spring semester. Elevate SFA, I want just a little update on our capital campaign. Capital campaign is going great. I'll tell you that I came back to work on a Tuesday, and on Thursday I was on donor calls. It was an immediate hit. The development crew put me in the car, and we headed out right away. It's been good. It's been good to visit with our supporters and potential donors over the past several months. There's still a tremendous amount of support for the university from our friends who are willing to share their treasure with us and to support our capital campaign. One of the most recent examples of that, I think you saw at our July board meeting, the new Greg Arnold Center for Entrepreneurship. Greg Arnold is a graduate of SFA and wants to support that particular program, and has made a significant commitment to do that, and making commitments for the future as well. That's just one example of great friends that we have out there who are supporting us and you and the work that we're all doing. And so I just want to tell you that just because you might not have heard anything about the capital campaign, there's a lot of work still going on with that, and we'll be updating you this year about the results of that as we move into our centennial year. I want to talk a little bit about our 99th birthday as an institution. I know we don't look that old, but we're turning 99. It's actually September 18th we're turning 99. The first classes were held the morning of September the 18th, 1923. We had 270 students at that time. We're going to celebrate it on the 19th because the 18th is on Sunday. So we're going to celebrate it on the 19th, and we're going to have some cake and ice cream out at the Sesquicentennial Plaza. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's where the statue is. The students would call that Surfing Steve Plaza. So we're going to have cake and ice cream out there during the middle of the day. So if you're out and about, come by. The ice cream will be purple. So you want to participate with that, and we'll celebrate that sort of a low-key way. When you turn 99, you know you're going to turn 100. We're going to save up our big celebration for when we turn 100. I have to sort of, I've told some groups when I tell people about my experience here at SFA, tomorrow will actually be the 45th anniversary of when I first set foot on campus as a student. 45, and I tell people we're going to turn 99. Oh gosh, I've been here 45 of those years. That's unbelievable to me. And then I limp away and drag down. But a lot of change here in the last 45 years, and we're going to celebrate that 99th. And then remember, our centennial year will start January 1st. Again, we're going to have celebrations throughout that year. The first big celebration will be our annual gala, which will be January the 28th of 2023. But we'll be engaging different groups across campus to celebrate. I know a lot of the groups, particularly the student groups that are planning things, are already incorporating centennial themes into their events as we go through next year. So that'll be an important year for us, and we'll look forward to what the next 100 years holds for SFA. And as I finish, I just want to say thank you. I've been around to a lot of events since I've been back in April, and I get to visit with a lot of you. I see a lot of you around town. I see a lot of you across campus. There's been no one that has not been encouraging and supporting to me, and I want you to know how important that is to me. I've always felt like SFA was a great family to be a member of. I mean, why wouldn't I? I was part of the family, and there's many folks have been part of the family. I even saw Dr. Bruce Payette today. Dr. Payette, where are you? He's in the back. He got called out of the bullpen too to come back and help. And Dr. Payette was one of my professors in my master's program here. And so we're a family. And for the new faculty, you heard me say something about that when we met earlier this week. And it's just been exemplified as I've walked and talked to everybody. And I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate what you have done for me since I've been back, the encouragement that you've given me, and I will continue to do my best. And I want to see everybody across campus. I'm going to get out as much as I can. Sometimes I look up and it's 7 o'clock and I think, what happened to the day? But I want to get out and visit. So if you see me and I have those blinders on, please come up and say hi. I'm going to be done with my portion of the program today, and I'm going to ask Dr. Lorenzo Smith to come up and close us out. So, Dr. Smith.
Well, definitely words of encouragement. Thank you, President Westbrook. I want to continue with recognizing a few people before I begin my remarks. And I want to begin with the department chairs and directors. I don't think that I give enough recognition to the department chairs and the directors who are truly on the front line of engagement when it comes to working with the faculty who serve our students. And so we have some new chairs and directors first, and I want to recognize them. Dr. Jana Narin, Education Studies. I'm not sure if she's here, but if she is, please rise to be recognized. Dr. Shay Runnels, Human Sciences, Director. Yeah. Dr. Nathan Knabb, School of Music, Director. Dr. Liz Tasker Davis, History. And that was written history, but now I know it's, yeah, Uh, English. Truly, it's a typo. Dr. Matthew Beauregard, computer science. And Dr. Ricky McDaniel, physics, engineering, and astronomy. And then for all of the other chairs and directors, please, if you would just rise and be recognized. Again, I want to especially recognize you. If there are any others missed, yes, let's see. We have a few new academic affairs directors. So we have Miss Megan Weatherly, Executive Director, Lumberjack Learning Commons. Miss Allison Reed, Interim Director, CTL. And I think she's probably looking by Zoom, but Miss Marianne Rojas, Executive Director, CARI. Let's give her a hand clap. Our new Associate Deans, Dr. Jason Reese, Russia College of Business. Miss Lori Rogers, Russia College of Business. And Dr. Leslie Cecil, Interim Dean, Office of Research and Graduate Studies. And then, of course, I want to recognize, I see my dean somewhere here. For the deans, if you can please stand to be recognized, I appreciate your service so much also. That's all in time. There are so many that I'm probably leaving out, but before, again, I begin, I'm just looking at Dr. Mark Guidry, who has meant so much to me, so much to the university. All of you know what he has done for this university, and I want to recognize Dr. Mark Guidry. So I have the privilege of speaking to you as a cabinet member, but as you know, all of the cabinet members have plans in their own areas, have contributed greatly to the university, have made a very, very positive impact to the university, and care deeply and love this university. And so I'd like to recognize the cabinet members who are here. If you could just stand to be recognized also, just as my appreciation for you. The president's plan is a good plan. I am so appreciative of how he's kind of laid out that process. It is compressed, but we have to run along quickly, and I'm very comforted with that plan. For academic affairs, we have this kind of turnkey process, this so-called four-step process. We're going to engage that process. We are using that for our ombuds position right now, but now we're going to use that for the creation of these questions for this process that the president has laid out. And we'll talk much more about that today. We'll be getting information about that. So I have lots of optimism for this university. Of course, there's uncertainty. And so the question is, what are we going to do in academic affairs? What is our plan in the midst of all of this optimism and opportunity, but in the midst of uncertainty and certainly some challenges? And so we in academic affairs, we have really a small set of guiding language that fits under the umbrella of our mission. Our mission speaks of excellence in teaching, research, scholarship, creative activity, and service. We have our priorities, and I won't list them, but I've shared those with you in academic affairs regularly. And we, of course, have some of our strategies. So what is our plan for academic affairs? First and foremost, just stick with our plan. We have a good plan. We have a set of strategies with some measures. If anyone is interested in learning more about that, as I've written to you, come and see me. I can talk to you more about that. But we do have a plan that is difficult to execute, but relatively simple. And so I think that step one is that we simply stick with our plan, and I think we focus on making a case for the infrastructure for our students and not against others. And so let me repeat that. For our plan, we are going to continue to execute our plan with a special emphasis on that infrastructure for our students and not against others. We're going to then, point two, commit our work to this higher what's above us, and that is our mission. We're going to commit our work to our mission, and I do believe our plans will be established if we focus on that. Our mission, as you know, again, I said it speaks to excellence. Excellence in teaching, research, scholarship, creative work, and service. And when I think of that excellence, I do think of that infrastructure, a wide variety of functions to advance that excellence. And those functions, most of those are outside of academic affairs. Let me repeat that. When I talk about excellence and building that infrastructure, that's mostly outside in terms of the number of different functions. It's outside of academic affairs. And we absolutely need to push for excellence in all of those areas. It's very, very important to academic affairs that all of those functions that serve us are serving with excellence. That's very important. So in my closing remarks are really just, as clarity unfolds in this process, point one, we just keep on doing what we have been doing, or recognize the faculty. In fact, I'll say, I said this last year at this time, and I expect to say the same thing at this time as provost next year, and that is, I'm optimistic because of the staff and the faculty, what you are already doing in spite of all of the challenges that have been put in front of you. So I believe if we commit our work to something much higher than us, commit our work to the mission, I truly believe, our plans will be established for academic affairs and for the whole university. So I want to thank you again for all of your support. And at this point, I believe that we can now be dismissed to go to our different areas. In closing again, thank you so much for your support, and let's have a great, great year. Thank you so much.